Previously, he taught the Emei girls how to fight and then dealt with his uncle, but Ha-young is annoyed and wants to know why he looks at her with such a painful expression on his face. Now, a normal person might take a moment to reflect on the tragedy of eliminating a family member, right? Not Sewon. He's literally searching through the dead man's possessions. He reaches into the uncle's robes and pulls out a small stash. First up, he finds the crane feather venom, which is an extremely potent plant-based poison, lethal substance, but that's not all. He also finds a miniature crossbow mechanism, the soul-seeking arrow. This is a straight-up forbidden item. Sewon looks at the loot, his face blank, and just thinks it's not a bad haul. He's putting the lethal poisons into his inventory with casual efficiency. But then, as he stands up, there's a moment of silence. The wind is blowing, his robes are fluttering, and he looks down at his own hands. He starts to question his own state of mind. He asks himself if he's grown numb to taking lives. He acknowledges that yes, he executed an evildoer, but he didn't feel a shred of hesitation. Instead of feeling guilt or sadness, his brain immediately jumped to calculating gains and losses. That's not normal behavior. He realizes that his mindset is dangerously close to that of a demonic arts practitioner. That whole survival of the fittest emotionless logic? He looks at Ha-young with a sad expression. She still wonders why he looks so upset. He remembers the moment she passed away in his arms, and in his mind, he apologizes for being too late. Suddenly, the silence is broken from the sound of someone getting sick. We cut to the two Emei disciples, Du Ha-young and Cheong-yeon, and the scene is too much for them. Cheong-yeon is on her hands and knees, absolutely ill because there's a body right there. Ha-young is trying to comfort her, patting her back, asking if she's okay, but clearly Cheong-yeon is traumatized. Sewon just watches them with an unbothered expression. Cheong-yeon stammers out that she was just startled. Sewon, being diplomatic, actually apologizes. He says it seems the Tang clan's law for dealing with traitors was a bit too extreme for people of other sects. He's basically acknowledging that his family drama is harsh. But Ha-young, composing herself, actually defends him. She says it's fine. She points out that using the soul-seeking arrow or crane feather venom is punished with immediate execution in the alliance too. So technically Sewon followed the law. He's a bit surprised she knows that, raising an eyebrow. Now comes the formal part. Du Ha-young steps up, clasps her hands together in a martial arts salute, and formally introduces herself. She offers her gratitude for saving them, even if it is late. Then Cheong-yeon joins in and says she's also thankful. They bow deeply. Sewon, who clearly dislikes this kind of formality, puts his hands up and tells them to raise their heads, that he wouldn't go that far to say he saved their lives. He's trying to be humble, or maybe he just wants them to leave. But Ha-young isn't having it. She says that if it hadn't been for his black threads, they wouldn't be standing here. She's completely serious. Sewon thinks to himself about the saying that too much courtesy can be unnecessary and tells them it's fine, but she refuses to accept that, insisting they truly fell short. He argues that isn't true, and the two of them slip into a heated argument, one claiming they didn't help, the other insisting they did. Cheong-yeon watches in confusion, recalling how so many people are desperate to form connections with Ha-young, while Sewon waves her off, maintaining that he did nothing on his own and that it was a team effort. She watches Ha-young speak passionately about him helping and wonders if this is the same person she knows, since Ha-young usually wears a cold, icy expression whenever men so much as look her way. He decides to just accept it to move forward. He tells them he'll accept their thanks for now. Then he mentions that he's prepared a carriage, so they should hurry and join Abbess Manhwa. He's literally trying to send them off so he can work alone. But they call out, asking if he's not coming with them. Sewon pauses and says no, that he plans to go on pursuit alone. Cheong-yeon comments that she understands and turns to leave, but this immediately triggers concern in Ha-young, who strongly objects. She steps forward with a determined expression and insists that they'll accompany him. Sewon turns around, genuinely confused, asking what she means by accompanying him, while Cheong-yeon looks completely confused as to why Ha-young suddenly wants to go. He stares at her, recognizing that look all too well, and sighs inwardly. He knows there's nothing he can do when she gets that determined look in her eyes. He decides to compromise but sets a firm boundary. With a serious look, he tells them he doesn't mind their company, but he can't keep looking after them any longer. Ha-young questions what he means, and he makes it clear. If they fall behind, he will leave them and move on alone. It's a harsh condition. He's telling them to keep up or be left behind. Now a look of sadness fills her eyes as she thinks that the young master is trying to handle everything on his own without any help. In that moment, she understands what she must do. She clenches her fist, determined to help him. She declares that it doesn't matter, they'll follow him and be of help, and says they should go. But Chong-yan, still confused by what just happened, wonders why they are leaving a perfectly functional carriage behind to run into the dangerous woods. She questions her own choices internally, yet calls out to them to wait up. Cut to them climbing a ridiculously steep, jagged cliff face. When I say steep, I mean vertical. Chong-yan is struggling, sweat pouring down her face, while Sewon scales the cliff effortlessly, barely breaking a sweat. Ha-young is holding her own, but Chong-yon's difficulty is obvious. Her boot slips on the rock, and for a moment panic sets in, though she manages to regain her footing, trembling. The sheer drop below terrifies her, and she knows she needs a moment to rest, so she yells up to them to wait. Sewon stops, looking down with no visible emotion. He sees Chong-yon trembling and comments that it looks like her stamina has hit its limit, but he doesn't offer to help. Instead, he calmly says it's not too late to join the others as planned, giving them both a way out. But Ha-young, despite looking exhausted, refuses. She states to Sewon that Chong-yon is a disciple of the Emei, looking down at her with a "you better hurry up" expression. She emphasizes that this is an important mission, tracking down the poison demon, and that Chong-yon would not call out over some pathetic excuse about lacking stamina. Chong-yon feels the chill in her gaze and understands the warning, but in truth, she did call out because she was tired. Still, she makes up an excuse, claiming she only called out because it seemed like their direction had gone off. Sewon isn't buying it for a second, but he plays along with the navigation check. He points to a massive tree growing out of the cliff and explains he's been constantly correcting their course by checking the tree rings, so they don't need to worry. He basically demonstrates his wilderness survival skills. He says they'll depart again. And he just keeps climbing. Chong-yon is left staring at his back, worn out and exhausted, cursing under her breath. She wonders if he's a herbalist or something, questioning how he knows the mountains so well and why he doesn't seem to get tired. Sewon is defying all logic. They finally reach a flat, forested area. Chong-yon is completely tired and wants to rest, but Sewon doesn't seem to care and quickly gives orders. He says it would be better for them to split up and search separately. Each will look around, then meet back in an hour to compare what they found. The girls agree and split up. Chong-yon walks away, wondering when this will be over, while Ha-young stays ready. Then, they run into the trees. Sewon is now alone in the dense forest. The sunlight is filtering through the leaves, but the atmosphere is tense. He thinks it should be fine if they maintain this distance. He stops, crouches down, and does his signature move. He places his hand on the ground, noting that the basics of tracking are to examine the surroundings in meticulous detail. Suddenly, black threads shoot out from his hand, exploding into the ground and spreading like a huge spider web. They crawl through the grass, wrap around trees, and stretch for a long distance. This is his detection system. He scans everything the threads touch, wild animal trails, rabbits, deer, filtering out all the noise. Then the threads pick up a footprint. It belongs to an ordinary person with no martial arts skill. He focuses completely, determined to find the poison demon, Ya-yul-sung, no matter what. Now, a disturbing flashback. We see the poison demon, Ya-yul-sung, in a blacksmith's workshop, wearing the black scale bracelet and laughing, praising his disciple's blacksmithing skills as truly the best. Just wearing this, I'm immune to countless poisons. It can expel the poison inside my body and even let me control it, he says, calling the black scale bracelet a masterpiece. But the atmosphere shifts instantly. Sewon grabs a massive hammer and threatens the poison demon, saying that if he had not been threatened by the demon lord and his remaining clan members, he would have never made the divine artifact for him, and he suddenly swings the hammer at him. The poison demon stops the attack with a single finger, taunting, "Regret it, huh?" He melts the hammer, mocking Suwon, saying he must clearly feel the value of the poison arts and medical techniques he received for making such weapons, and that his martial arts suit him perfectly. Suwon is powerless as the demon continues, insisting that Suwon is a bright kid who would understand, whether he liked it or not, that he is both his disciple and his master. Laughing, he adds that it was all worth it just to see the masterpiece on Suwon's face in that moment. Snap back to the present. We're in a dark, damp cave. A man in civilian clothes looks around, confused, wondering where he is. He had been running from the poison demon. Did he get caught? Checking himself, he notices his body and mind feel strangely heavy, as if something is wrong. Then he sees the horror. The cave floor is literally covered with bodies, hundreds of corpses piled up. And him? He's dangling from the ceiling by a rope. A voice echoes from the darkness, commenting on the slow recovery speed. It's the poison demon, wearing a straw hat and walking through the scene as if on a casual stroll. He asks a chilling question. Does the victim know what the most important thing is for making a flower bloom as he opens a box? The hanging man is terrified. He notices that one person seems to have two voices. One of his arms has been lost, and the poison demon warns that if he doesn't answer, the other arm could be next. The victim is in agony. The poison demon asks again what is important for making a flower bloom. The man stammers, saying soil, water, and sunlight. The poison demon laughs, a deep and disturbing sound, acknowledging the answer. No flower can bloom without these, he says. He then holds up a small, ornate box. Inside glows a red object. He explains that there is one flower in the world that is an exception. The flower that grows from this seed doesn't need any of those things because it rejects all purity. The hanging man stares in horror. He sees the sword and recognizes it as treasured weapons, but wonders why the poison demon is calling it a seed. Suddenly, the demon pushes the red seed out from the sword, tossing the weapon aside. He holds the seed up and smiles, delighted, as it begins to glow a deep red. It is a flower that feeds on blood instead of water. He throws the seed, and it falls into the pool of blood gathered beneath the hanging bodies. The blood immediately ripples and glows with an ominous red light. The flower grows only in total darkness, without sunlight. The demon identifies it as the heavenward tear blossom. Spreading his arms wide, he basks in the sinister energy, declaring that once the heavenward tear blossom blooms, he will become a true poison master. He plans to ascend through mass murder, and then, without distinguishing orthodox from unorthodox, he will turn every martial artist into blood and water, the trail of blood that seems to flow uphill, defying gravity. It passes a dead deer and winds through the trees before finally coming to a stop. His eyes glow as he locks onto the source. He stares into the darkness, his expression grim and focused. Then he says two words, "Found it." And that's where the chapter ends.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and like. It really helps me out.